Since we last spoke, that is Brendan Rodgers confirmed as the new Celtic manager. And, you know, you said last week about how it's a completely different Rangers side to who he faced last time. But, I mean, do you think that Rangers fans should still be a little bit worried given how dominant domestically Rodgers' last Celtic side were?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always going to be that worry. I mean, we did speak about what he's done before, the 7 trophies and the double treble and the invincible season. What he done was outstanding. But I just think compared to now, he's coming into obviously a full set of different players. Yes, they're full of confidence off the back of a treble, but I was listening to the radio the other day and they were basically saying that even all the other teams have got different managers, different players. It's a stronger Rangers. I mean, I'm pretty sure, was it the first season they won by 30 points? I mean, that's not going to happen. So it's going to be a tougher test. And you've obviously got some supporters that aren't happy because obviously the way that he left the club. So he's going to have to really have a good start. If he goes on and wins 6, 7, 8 games in a run, it's all forgotten. But if it's a slow start and then kind of tension starts to build, then it could be a problem. But look, there's no getting away from the fact that he's an outstanding manager. Yeah,
definitely. Well, yeah, that was one of the other things. Obviously, Celtic announced it yesterday morning, and one of the first things that the Green Brigade's Twitter did was share a picture of the banner from last time he left. They're obviously not very happy about the appointment, but what does he, you know, what kind of response do you think they'll have? Do you think, you know, that's it with them? He won't be able to kind of redeem himself? Or do you think, like you say, he gets off to a good start, maybe makes some good signings, has a good, you know, start to the season, then potentially all will be forgotten?
Yeah, I think most of it will be forgotten. Obviously, in the back of the Celtic minds, they'll still remember him leaving to go what they probably seen was a lesser team. But the draw of the Premier League is absolutely massive. He went down there, won the FA Cup. I think he won the Charity Shield. 2 5th place finishes. So he'd done a decent job, apart from obviously the ending. But I think if he brings in 1 or 2 quality signings, he does well in the Champions League, maybe gets him through the group stages, wins his first X amount of games. Obviously, the first Old Firm game would be a big, massive thing for them as a club. So it will be forgotten if he goes in and really has a good start. If he comes in and he has a start where it's relatively slow and they don't have a good start to the Champions League, then that could turn into a problem.
That's the thing, isn't it? Is the fans were willing to give Ange time because he was new and it was all kind of fresh for him. But Rodgers has been there, seen it, done it. He will not get the same amount of time that someone else would get, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ange came in and it was a difficult period of time. And obviously, even at the start, you imagine the flack that he was getting after the games at the beginning of the season. So for him to turn that round so quickly and the recruitment to be so good, the fans instantly took to him after that. And obviously, we've seen the love that they had for him. So that's why they were disappointed. But at least he left at the end of a campaign after winning 3 trophies. So Brendan Rodgers will know what he has to go in there and do. I mean, he's getting paid a lot of money now, the highest ever in Scottish history as a manager. So he'll know that he'll have to go in there and do well. He'll back himself. He's probably a better manager now than what he was. He's had a lot more experience. So I don't think that will faze him. He'll know exactly what he has to do.
And, you know, we talk about, you know, what he has to do on the playing side of things. But, you know, the announcement was yesterday. We're waiting on his first press conference. Do you think that there will be an apology in there to the Celtic fans for the way he left?
I'm not sure if there'll be an actual apology. He might tell everybody's reasons behind it. I mean, how can you look back on it and say it was a bad decision? I know, obviously, eventually it ended in him getting sacked, but that happens to every manager at one stage or another. So I think he will get asked some questions straight to the point about when he left. But I think if he answers them open and honest, that's all you can ask for. That's all you want as a fan. And then what his plans are moving forward. If the fans like what he says, then of course they'll welcome him back, no problem.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see kind of what unfolds, etc. But yeah, and obviously we've spoken about Rangers and their busy window so far. But obviously they've been doing that at the moment without a sporting director. But one of the names in the fold for that role is former Arsenal's head of youth development. He's supposedly in talks to be the next sporting director. But do you like the sound of that appointment? Do you think that that's Rangers moving in the right direction with looking at these kinds of people for the head positions in the club?
I mean, obviously you have to kind of search far and wide for the right candidate for the position. I mean, I don't know a lot about him, so I can't really sit here and say, well, this is why he'd be a good appointment. You'd like to think that they've looked at all avenues, and if they think this is the right route to go down, then you have to kind of trust the process. But I think that Michael Beale actually likes the idea of him being really key to who comes in and who leaves. I mean, you hear of him going to meet all these players all around the world to try and get them to Ibrox. So he likes to be involved. So they're going to have to be able to work alongside him doing that, I think, because as I said, I think he enjoys it. But as far as whoever's going to come in, it's been relatively quiet. I don't know a lot about it, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I remember you saying that actually when we were talking about after Ross Wilson left, and you said that you think Beale is perfectly happy to do it by himself, but I suppose it's probably a big ask to do that throughout the season as well. You know, it's all well and good doing it in the summer when there's not a lot else going on, but during the season it's probably a bit more taxing, I suppose.
Yeah, of course, you think of the pressures that he'll be under as Rangers manager alone and what he has to go and do throughout the season. When I say he enjoys it, I think he likes the kind of looking at players, going to watch them, scout them, go and chat to them, sell the club if you want. But of course, he will not have the time to do all that. But even though whoever the sporting director is that comes in, I think he'll want to be a big part and have a big say on who actually comes into the club.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out as well. And yeah, one of the other talking points kind of throughout the season has been the Malik Tillman deal, whether or not they accept the option to buy, whether they take that up. It's obviously a lot of money. We've spoken about that. But it's looking like Bayern Munich have maybe moved the goalposts on that one slightly, maybe not happy with that 5 million price point, maybe want a little bit more. Do you think, I mean, Beale's obviously spoken about how he likes Tillman and would like him to be at the club permanently. Do you think that they'll be willing to go higher?
Probably slightly. I mean, but if we're talking above 5 million, it's a lot of money for a Scottish team to pay out. Michael Beale has spoken a lot about how much he enjoys him working with them. He doesn't see him having a glass ceiling, which means he thinks he can improve massively, which is obviously a good thing. This is the problem when you bring players on loan and there's no fixed fee. Like what it should be is, I've seen it before with the likes of Tyrone Mings when he came to Aston Villa on loan, then they kind of moved the goalposts and stuff and you had to pay higher because he had a good season. You have to get it down in writing that no matter how he does, if you want to buy him, this is the cost. So it is a bit of a shame because I think he can go on to be a outstanding player. He's still so young. He's got a lot to improve. And I think he can do that at Rangers. So it's a shame that this 5 million fee has now been moved. But I think they will go slightly higher. But there'll come a line where they can't cross. And it's probably not that higher than the 5 million.
Yeah, especially if they're wanting to spend money on other areas as well. I suppose they've got a strong midfield already.
Yeah, and you need to factor in wages as well. So 5, 6, 7 million plus wages on a 5-year contract. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and one of the other things we've spoken about is potential exits. You know, in order to bring in new players and whatever else. One of the names is Scott Wright, but it seems like Rangers have rejected, I think, 2 bids from Preston for Scott Wright. I mean, do you think they're happy to hold on to him a little bit longer if they can't get a fee that they're happy with?
Well, obviously they'll be wanting to squeeze as much money out of them as possible. I mean, that's why obviously Preston have come back in. As well as that, Rangers will want somebody to come in to fill that space. So they'll obviously be working hard. If they can get somebody in, then it might free up a little bit of wiggle room to allow him to leave. But you know what it's like with clubs. They always want the most. And obviously the other club doesn't. So it's just about finding that kind of middle ground. They will get there eventually. I think Wright's a decent player. But in my opinion, he's had enough opportunities now to really go and stake a claim to be a starter, and it's not quite happened for him. Even though he's done well in patches, it's not quite happened. So I think he will move on.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, and obviously they've signed Sam Lammers, a striker. Cholak's obviously there, but it does seem like Beale's maybe looking to bring in another striker. One of the names is Cyril Dessers, but he's supposedly attracting interest from clubs in Serie A. Do you think that that's maybe, compared to Rangers, a slightly better move if you're looking at where to go Serie A versus playing in the Scottish Premiership?
Well, it simply boils down to what team is it, really. I mean, if you're talking about a team that's going to fight relegation, then it's not a better option. Yes, potentially you're in a stronger league, but you could get relegated. We're talking about a team in Rangers that, are probably in a smaller league. I'll give you that one, but they're in European competition. They fight for trophies year in, year out. They play in front of 50,000. You don't get that in many stadiums in Italy. So it depends how you weigh it up, really. And it's all going to fall back down to what team it is in Italy. And obviously the Sam Lammers situation, I think they will look to bring in another, because it's a little bit worrying looking at his goal record, if I'm totally honest. When you think of Morelos leaving, I have watched a lot of clips of him. He does look like more of a player, like a kind of link-up player, like a number 10 player. He's technically very gifted. He scores the odd goal here and there, so I think he could be a good addition. He's something different, but they'll definitely need to bring somebody else in, a proven goal scorer, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean, what do you think happens to Cholak if they do bring in another option there?
He'll have to fight for his place. I mean, he's shown that he's last season that he can score goals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely there, but the thing for me is Michael Beale did revert back to Morelos for whatever reason. Maybe thought he could give him a little bit more physicality, something different within the pitch. I think Lammers has got that. He looks to me like a very good link-up player, but you would need an out-and-out striker to play alongside him. Whether that would fit with Cholak, I'm not sure. Or Roof's still there, or he might look to bring somebody else in. But what I like about the whole situation, he's doing his business early to really get the team in, work at pre-season to get his points across.
Yeah, that's been the thing a lot with Rangers and Celtic as well, isn't it? It's kind of like waiting for the European money to come in to then spend on players, whereas you really do need to be spending it now to be ready and prepared for when that European time rolls around.
Yeah, well, Rangers are going to have to qualify to get into the Champions League, and you're going to come up against some good teams. It's going to be difficult, as we've seen in the past. They're more than capable of doing it. And Michael Beale has obviously said to the board or whoever that I need my squad ready for when that comes round. For pre-season, I want them all in together so we can really kind of drive forward. And so far, so good. I mean, he's got some real talented young players, an experienced goalkeeper through the door that's going to make that squad even better. So he'll be happy with business, but he'll still know that he probably needs one or two more to really challenge.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about striker maybe being needed, potentially strength at defence, but is there anywhere else on the pitch that you see Beale wanting to bring in reinforcements?
I think the wide right position has been a little bit of a problem. Not a huge problem, but I think since obviously Aribo had left and he really kind of changed that role, if you want, with his technical ability and what he could do. He could open defences. Kent's obviously left as well. He's looking for options in those wide areas. So I think there's probably a couple of positions that he's looking at that he wants to strengthen. And these are areas that when you're playing games, change the game. I mean, if you get that kind of player, Ryan Kent, who's on top form, in an instant can change a game. So he's probably looking for that type of profile of player.
Yeah, that makes sense. It'll be interesting to see kind of what both Celtic and Rangers end up doing, who they end up bringing. I actually saw just this morning, supposedly Celtic under Brendan Rodgers are looking at Ndidi, but he's obviously not cheap.
No, I've seen that. I'm sure Leicester bought him for about 17 million as well at one stage. It's a lot of money, but I don't know if I seen they were looking at Armati and Ndidi, but one of them's got 1 year left and one's a free, I think. But I think it's Ndidi that's got a year left. So you're going to have to still pay decent money for him. But this always happens. See, when the manager from the previous club goes to a new club, these links just pop up. So whether it's true or not, we'll wait and see. But of course, a defensive midfielder of that quality makes your team better.
Yeah, if you're willing to spend the big bucks, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. But look, they might be in a position to do that. With Champions League football guaranteed, they might be in a position to spend the 7, 8, 9 million again. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, definitely.